All right,
Hey,
can you hear
hey.
us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Go. I have to start something. It's already it's going. There you go. Reschedule this time. Jason, how we doing?
Good, bro. How you doing?
Well, I'm not as good as you, man. You look great.
Yeah.
Like,
You look good, dude. I like that setup. Man, you're legit.
it's a beautiful thing. I was here putting thumbtacks in the walls last night till about 10 o'clock, hanging up all these little black sound things, but it looks and sounds pretty great. So we're waiting for just a minute. As you're joining us on the Facebook Live, I want to welcome everybody. We have the amazing Jason Hewlett here, award-winning celebrity and one of the most entertaining and fun people we have not only in my phone but in the world. I think Jason adds value to every conversation he's part of, and we're excited to have him here. For those of you that are just jumping on the Facebook Live, I just have Austin join me real quick. As we're jumping on the Facebook Live, I want to encourage you all as you come on to just say hello to everybody and to let us know where you're from, and and give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're there. Also, as we go through our content today, which is, how to keep the promises you make when you're working in a home environment, and what are the struggles and the strategies that people are having. I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to ask questions. And so we're monitoring in the Facebook Live the questions that are coming up. I can see all of those, and I encourage you to just ask and say hello to everybody as you come on. I just want to just real quick check with my AV guy. I've got everything loaded up on Facebook, but I'm not seeing anything coming on the stream from Jason. Are you seeing it live on your end okay?
Yes, I'm seeing you guys fine.
I'm seeing it on. I'm on your stream. Did you want me on my stream as well?
Yeah, you don't need to be. Just here's great.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to make it so I could go on my stream too. Is there a way to do that?
Okay, so it's streaming here.
I don't know how to tell you how to do that. I don't know how to make it be live on yours and mine, but it looks like it's working great, and we're seeing you on our live stream. So
I think it's just black there.
A lot of people saying hello. You got a lot of love out there. A lot of people saying hello, Jason. So while we have you, I want to jump right in if we can. And, a lot of our audience is real estate agents, and you and I both are in the same industry where we do presentations for a living. We're in the business of motivational speaking, and all of a sudden, all of our events have canceled. All of the travel that we do and all the things that we do have just stopped. And it's not like they've slowed down a little bit. It's like somebody turned off the spigot and took away the handle. So we can't even go and turn it back. We can't even go and turn it back on. How are you adjusting to that? And how's that transformed your life for the moment?
Obviously losing every gig you had lined up is pretty frustrating. And for a motivational speaker to spend a majority of the last few weeks spending all my time between writing books and putting out motivational thoughts to the world, to also equally be applying for an SBA loan and putting a hold on my mortgage and asking the credit card companies to help, and all the charities I've contributed to ask if there's any way I can hold off paying right now, because literally no income coming in. Things have to shift pretty fast. And so how do you keep your mind about you, your wits about you during that? That's what I think we should talk about today, But for me, it's been wild, man. This is crazy, but it's okay. It's like shift your perspective and pivot and create and learn. It's a cool time. And I think it'll be a time in our history that'll really be that, that refiner's fire that we all need. I think everyone was going so fast that there was no stopping. And then all of a sudden the whole world paused. And what a gift. If we can look at it that way, that's how I choose to look at it.
I got to tell you that for me, the gift has come in a couple of different ways. One, it's given me an opportunity to reach out to people that I haven't connected with in a long time. They say we're supposed to be social distancing, but I find myself actually being more intentional about socially connecting. I'm just physically distancing. So we're not in the same room, but we see each other just like we are right here, and we're socially connecting, even though we're not high-fiving each other and shaking hands. And
you're totally right. And I've found a lot of people reaching out that I haven't heard from in a long time. And I'm reaching out to the people that fill my bucket, the people that inspire me, that push me, but at the same time, people that instruct me. I've done more calls like this where And even from you, man, I mean, I appreciate you reaching out because we've we've been acquaintances, and then I did your event in January, which was incredible, and we showed, we you bought 500 books for your people that attended, and that was epic. And we've become more friends now. But dude, you've been calling me and helping me through this. Man, you're like really becoming my real friend. And I know that that sounds weird to say it that way, but I think a lot of people we associate with, work with, and are on Facebook or any other social media platform with, we don't feel like they're really our friends. And I actually feel like you, Verl, through this with me, we've become real friends. And I appreciate that.
Well, I feel the same way, and I appreciate it too. And it comes by not having an agenda with each other. It's genuinely caring about each other's families and wondering how we can make a difference. My wife said to me the other day, Jason, I know you'll laugh about this. She says, I hated ninth grade the first time I went through it. Now I feel like I'm going through it again because I'm homeschooling my 15-year-old. Are you having the same experience as you're homeschooling your kids and you're finding them not going away anymore? All of a sudden your work from home environment's not so quiet anymore.
That's funny that she would say that. I completely understand. Equally, we in our home, I am so home so often anyway, because I'm only doing about between 50 and 70 dates for large events throughout the year. And so a majority of my time, 300 days a year, I'm pretty much home anyway. And so this hasn't been that big of a shift. However, having the children here all day, every day, that's been different. And it's very welcome in our home because I've tried to homeschool, I've tried to homeschool in the past. In fact, I tried to be the teacher. I pulled my daughter out of school because that was a romantic thought I had, that I could be a stay-at-home dad, do homeschool with my child, and run my business while traveling. I thought that was possible.
Right.
And so now we're seeing that this is a very interesting dynamic. My wife helps me with my business. She's helping the children with their stuff. And I'm trying to scramble to make it so that virtually I am relevant in my speaking space. And so we've never worked harder or had more of a chaos around here. But equally, I so love the fact that these kids are with us all day, every day. It's really been fun. And that's one of the reasons I put this little course together that I sent you, and hopefully we can talk more about it with your people. But yeah, I hope your wife hangs in there. It's totally different for sure.
Well, Jason, what spurred this, me inviting you to this Facebook Live today, was that you wrote a blog post on how to be a stay-at-home family and not have it be Family Feud. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I shared a couple weeks ago just a very simple thought about how we can live together without having major problems, and what are sort of the boundaries between being a stay-at-home parent and having children. And so it was more for people with family, children in the home, especially younger children. But at least mine aren't like newborns at this point. Newborn at infant size, that's a different discussion. Sure. As well as if you have kids that are like 16 and older, that's a different discussion, because I understand a lot of people are having their college-aged kids coming back and, whom they thought would be gone right now. So I'm talking that kind of prime time age demographic of 8 to 16 is kind of where I was going for with that post. And how do you have fun still? How do you create memories? The kids are going to remember this as a pivotal moment in their lives, just as we remember 9/11, just as our grandparents remember Pearl Harbor. That's what this now is. And so that's what I wrote in that post about how to have fun, how to create memories, how to some cute ideas. And do you want me to go through them? I mean, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, let's absolutely share real ideas. I think it's interesting that Vinda posted on the Facebook Live. She says, it is amazing that we're all experiencing the same thing. When can you remember in your lifetime that everybody you talk to is experiencing the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've
right?
never seen anything like it, and it's the perfect time to create some amazing things for our families. And so, rather than hiding from it or becoming the Hobbit and saying, oh, we're not, I'm just hiding in my corner, that might be your way of coping, but do that in spurts and then come and be fully present. And so, some of the things that I talked about in that post and what I think we should share today is that I like to hold a meeting, a family meeting every Sunday to plan my week. And we do that on a Sunday night just because it's nice to have the flow for the week. Now, since we're on in the middle of the week right now, that doesn't mean you got to wait till Sunday. Why don't you just do it tonight? And if you've never done this, this is a weird experience for families, especially, and for kids, because they're like, why are we sitting at the couch? Why are we talking about this? But sit them down as the leader of your home and say, so this is our plan for tomorrow and for this week as a whole. What are some of the projects we're going to finish? What are some of the things you have to do for school? What do I need to do for work? And what help do I need from you for work? For example, Verl, before I got on this call, before I closed the door, before I turned on the lights and did Hollywood for us, what I did is I said to my family, guys, I'm going to be on a call for an hour. I would ask respectfully that you guys be as quiet as possible. I can't talk to the dog, but I can ask everyone else. And that helps them to realize that in a planning meeting session, and we also do three little mini meetings per day. So we do one around when we wake up around breakfast time, one around noon, and then one in the evening. We do these little mini meetings throughout the day just to reestablish our promises for that day, and having this weekly meeting that says, this is what we're going to do. It's very much like a workspace. And I know you do that for your people, Verl.
Well, so tell us a little bit more about your family. Tell me what your family consists of. I want to visualize these meetings and what they look like.
Okay, so here's my picture of my family. Can you see it all right? We have am I in the shot there?
There you go. Yep.
Okay, so we have Ella, and she is now, this is a picture from 2 or 3 years ago. Ella is 14, Redford is 13, Romney is 12, Royal's now 8. So this was a few years ago. It's my favorite picture of our family. But
don't tell us the age of your wife. Just stay with the kids.
Yeah, we have 6 people, and these are my favorite people. And
beautiful.
This might not look like your family. I understand that. But whatever the makeup of your family is, how are you helping them to all discover what they can do that makes them unique? And how can they contribute while we're all trapped together? There's many things that kids this age can do, older, younger. And how are we establishing that with our families? That's what's important.
It's absolutely the most important thing. I think so many people are frustrated, and they're sharing with everybody their frustration at being at work from home. And I kind of feel the opposite. I kind of feel blessed that I have the opportunity to spend more time, with my kids. I've played more horse in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 2 years. And I think that's a cool thing.
I agree. And I know that there's kind of 2 streams for how this might work for people. There might be the person who is the absolute workaholic all the time person that's used to being gone. And then there's the person who's used to doing their job and, 9 to 5, and now they're thrown into a workaholic potential experience. And so if you're on that other side of almost a workaholic, I hate that word, but, working so hard because you're an entrepreneur, keeping the doors open, etc. If that's been your normal life in your office space and world before this happened, where we now are in our home, I would invite you, if there's any way that you can make a promise to yourself to pull back on the working hours, because you could literally work 24 hours and not finish anything and everything. So how can you really put into place what needs to be done, and then pull back on those amount of hours for giving more to your children and doing more for your family and playing more horse? This is the time to pull back and to give more to your body, to yourself, to your spirit, to your happiness. And then the 9 to 5 person who's used to that work and kind of more of a structure, now they come into this space where it's like, boom, we're full time, we're nonstop with work, and I have to do way more than I've ever done. Okay, I would say you need to push the driver until you get to the point where you're actually very comfortable doing your job in your space, and then you can settle more into that 9 to 5 pattern, if you will. Does that make sense, Verl?
It absolutely does. So you've created kind of a roadmap for families, for people who are stay from home. Tell me about that roadmap. And you actually created a video series that we're going to give to everybody that watches this Facebook Live. I think that the fact that you spent all the time and money to build a product and then want to give it away says a lot about who you are as an individual.
Well, here's the thing. I learned from someone really cool named Verl Workman that you're supposed to just create a ton of value and give as much as possible without expecting anything in return. And I have done that throughout my life. But in this moment of panic, creating something, I thought, what could I do that I am a real expert in? And because I've worked from home for 20 years and done quite well with that, since we've had children for almost 15 of those years, and I've done well with that as a dad and with my wife working in the business with me and now with the children around. Yeah, we've created this product called The Promise of the Work From Home Parent during COVID-19 and coronavirus quarantine. And yeah, it's free, but I created 30 videos over a 48-hour period, created the entire program with PDF forms to follow along, with homework assignments, and the videos are very short. I mean, I was filming them at the top of a mountain and over by our lake in our neighborhood and in my kitchen and here in my office. So I did everything kind of on location depending on the category. I went through 4 categories. The first was the category of the job. What's your promise to your work every day while you work from home, and establishing those promises. Then the next was the promise to your family. What are your promises with them and making this a special time and having being effective? And then the promise to self and the promise to the community, not just the virtual one, but also your actual community outside of these walls. And so putting this video course together, I cranked it out, man. It's not perfect. I edited it myself. I shot it. The wind was blowing through the mic. I apologize for some of it, but I wanted to give something as fast as possible for people to have at least 6 to-do items or new ways of seeing their life through each category that they could promise themselves and say, oh yeah, I've got this. I can do this. And I know that those that are watching can do this. This is not that difficult. And it's not a course on here's how you make money. I don't even know how to make money right now, Verl. So, but what the course is how to have a happy life, how to be effective, and how to be successful while you work from home during this time.
So this whole concept of making and keeping promises you introduced to my audience at our Leverage 19 event in January. Everybody makes commitments and they all set goals, but you really hit a nerve with me when you said, is that a commitment or is it a promise? And I had to really think about that. And so when you talk about your promise to your boss, your promise to your family, your promise to your community, you talk about the areas where you're willing to make promises. What's the difference? Explain to our audience the difference between a commitment or a goal or a strategic plan and a real promise. What's the difference? How do you define the difference?
Yeah, so I like to say, why set a goal when we can make a promise? And that's not to say that goals aren't important, because of course they are. I mean, I've been setting goals my whole life, but it was those real big promises that I had made that were the things that always seemed to drive my mission and my purpose, my life, as it were. And when you sign up for a company to work for them, you're pretty much signing on the dotted line saying, I promise to be all in with this company, with their mission statement. That is your promise. And that's the promise of the company. Now the question is, what's the promise of you, the individual, as an employee within that company? And so when I say, why set a goal when we can make a promise, it's just because, you've made goals in life. Everybody's made goals, and you make a goal and then you almost get it and you go, oh, we missed that goal. Well, let's just set another one. But if you make a promise and you break it, well, then you have a serious problem. And so it's not to say set or make more promises. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about intentionally creating for yourself the goals that will help you accomplish your promises. So I say goals are particulars, promises are proclamations. What are your true non-negotiables in life that when you say you'll do something, you'll do them? For example, Verl, you contact me yesterday for us to be on this call. If I'd have said to you, yeah, Verl, I promise I'll be on there, and then you can't get a hold of me at 1 o'clock when we're supposed to be live, I've now broken a promise. And now I lose your trust way different than if we had just talked on the phone and I said, you know what, I'll do my best to be there.
Someday.
Yeah, someday I might get on when I see that you've successfully logged into Facebook Live. I might get on that call, or yeah, I'll see if I can work it in. Okay, that's not a very strong commitment. Then you know you don't have my word, but you had my word, and here I am. And so there are certain promises that we can make in our life that really are significant. For the listener, what are the promises that you can make in your job every day that make you the most effective worker possible? And that's a powerful thing, right? To establish.
Let's establish some. Let's just throw some promises out that you might want to make to your job. I think a lot of people aren't used to working from home, and they think because they're not in an office, they don't have to put in a full day, or that they can kind of skate around the edges, or they're going to spend more time on Facebook or doing fake work. And their boss is continuing to pay them, even though they're hopefully getting some stimulus money to keep them on the payroll. They're still sacrificing at this time to keep people employed. So what's the promise that an employee could make, and what's the promise an employer could make?
Right. Great question. I mean, really what an employer has already done is establish the mission statement that most employees cannot recite. And so for an employer right now would be very smart to go through what they feel the employee in their particular position and throughout management and so forth could actually say, I would like everyone to establish this as our promise level of stuff that we're doing. This is something that is a non-negotiable. This has to happen every day, whether it's getting back to customers on time, being positive on a call, even just doing what we're doing right now, Verl. Yep. Which is having the right lighting, the right microphone, the right connection, so that I can do this job well. This for me is a promise that I made to my work to give 100%. And I'm not sitting down, as you can see, and neither are you. Yep. I am standing so that I am 100% all in on this call right now. My promise is to be present with every presentation, with every call. And that's a very simple promise to make, but I'll tell you, if I woke up at 12:30 for a 1 o'clock live stream with you, I'd have been too late. So What did I have to do to get ready for this day? That's where other promises come in, promise to self to be ready for job. And so whether that's meditation or working out or doing makeup to look pretty, whatever I need to do to make it all ready. I had to charge my earbuds, so those. I'm
gonna look really close, see if I can see any makeup. You're looking pretty good. I tell people today that we have to get up and get dressed for success from the waist up, because you never know when you're gonna have to be on a live video call, and we need to look good from here up so that we are presentable and engaged. And that's a great promise to make. We can be a little bit more casual because we're working from home, but when your clients are engaging with you, it's a good promise to make sure that they have a good first impression. I appreciate the effort that you put into that. Tell me about promises. I mean, I when you were talking about promises to family, my mind went a little bit, my ADD goes crazy. And I went into my mind about the movie Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey. You remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
And all the promises that he made that he never, there it is, right there.
The pen is royal blue. I love that movie.
Well, right. But he was making promises that he didn't keep, and his kids believed he was a liar. And so all of a sudden, when he couldn't lie anymore, they didn't know who he was.
That's a great example. I forgot about that. You're so right. And you know what? The more promises you make to the kids and say, I'll be there to pick you up at such and such time, and then you have some other commitment that you made or you just blew it off, then you ruin trust. then all of a sudden you become that person that breaks the promise, not just to the family, but ultimately to yourself. And then how do you have a great life like that? It does spill over. Like if you made a promise to your kid to do something and you don't do it, then you've now entered a slippery slope where you're now going to slack off with work and yourself and community. And you just start to slowly not keep every commitment. And so how do we keep that energy up to where we say, I can make promises and actually, I can be counted upon. I like to look at it in the terms of my own self-assessment. So I'll look at myself at the end of a day. I'll be laying in bed and I'll be laying there thinking, okay, how did I do today by keeping my promises that I made? I might go through my emails and say, oh, I contacted all the people I should have. I did all the videos and Zoom calls I was supposed to be on. Oh, but you know what? I did miss my workout. So that was a promise I made to myself that I would do every day. Or I promised I wouldn't eat sugar for the week just to try to cleanse my body. But I did have that one cookie. Okay, forgive yourself. Make a new promise that night and a new commitment and say, tomorrow I've got this. The first thing I'm going to do is wake up, put my shoes on, and go out the door and do my workout. And that will start my day so that the cookie's not a temptation. And then when I show up to work and I turn on my lights and my cameras and I've got my computer ready to go, I'm now way better at my job. I'm now way more present with my family. It changes everything when we make those promises, but we have to assess, did I keep them today or did I break them? And how can I say, I forgive myself, now I move forward tomorrow. It's a better day tomorrow. Here we go.
I love that. Walt says that kids always remember everything. And Brianne said that the promise she wants to make is to be present with her job when she's doing her work and be present with her family when she's with family time and not let one interrupt the other. I love those promises. Cleve Gaddis from Atlanta says to tell Jason hello. And so you got some love out there, Jason. It's fun to see everybody saying hi. When you're talking about,
let me throw that out there. I love that you just read those, because what I think we ought to do with our community that's watching, let's ask, what is your promise? Like, what is your promise to your work? I love that. Was it Brianne that said she promises to be present and all that?
Yep.
That was Brianne. So look, why don't you post it to the world? It's your proclamation. This is your chance on this call right now to be able to say, I promise right now to be 100% present with every phone call. I'm telling you what, Verl, I have done some of these Zoom calls where I see people that are half asleep or milling around doing something else, or they don't even turn on the camera.
Right.
And I get it. I mean, I get it. We've all been there. But how can we proclaim today to the world, I promise to be all in my job every single day, even if it's just that? Or maybe your promise could be, I promise to remain positive while everyone else around me seems so negative. Or I promise when my children come to the door that instead of them coming in and getting in the middle of my work and me just shooing them off, which is our natural response, what if you just turned for a moment, gave your child 100% presence? Often it's just to answer a question, or maybe they want to read a book for 5 minutes. Sit them on your lap, read the book, hug. They go off back to being their independent selves, which we should be teaching our children how to be independent. Don't need to be entertained by us all day. But those types of small promises, it would be cool if we could get people to proclaim what that would be for themselves.
Well, I think we should do it. So if you're on the call and you're listening on the Facebook Live right now, go into the chat box and make and proclaim. Don't just make a promise, proclaim it to everybody else, and we'll share those as they start coming in. What some of those promises might be. You remind me of a few moments. If you asked my older kids what their dad did, most of them couldn't tell you, because in being a work from home dad, I was always on coaching calls or doing, we used to do audio calls. They didn't have Zoom. And you asked my older kids what their dad did, and they would say, I don't know, but he says, shh, I'm on a call. And that's what they thought my job was shh, I'm on a call. And that, looking back at that, I think, whose fault is that? that they thought that was my job to shut them up because I'm on a call with somebody that is clearly more important than them. Now, that isn't how I feel, but that was the message that I was giving them was I'm on a call. And so I love this reminder of making promises to our kids and making sure that we keep those promises. I don't want to be liar, liar.
I love that analogy. And you know what? I mean, as a kid, I thought my dad was a professional golfer because I didn't understand what an insurance salesman was, but he was he was always golfing. And so I was just like, yeah, but Dad's a golfer. And so it was very confusing, I know. But how I've raised my children, and maybe the people that are watching today could start, while you're raising your child, let them in on your work. Let them understand what you do. I mean, I love to involve my children as much as possible. In fact, when I've done most videos, when I'm not trying to create a 30 video course in 48 hours, with my son actually films a lot of the footage. He's 13 years old. He's filming, and then he's learned how to edit stuff. That's a skill for his life. And then he's fully invested in my job. My daughter, who's 14, she loves to take photos, and she's very good at also keeping good scrapbooks. So she's in charge of my memorabilia. Like when I go and do gigs and I have my lanyard if I want to keep it, or a program I've been in. Now she's fully invested in my work. And in fact, yesterday we had a miracle happen where a person called, asked me to help them with an event, and I firmed it up, and it was my first firmed paid virtual event.
Wow.
Of this quarantine. I was so excited. And my family had gone for the day to go just, go drive around in like empty spaces and go see things in the car. And I called them, and they know that when I call, there's a reason I'm calling. And I said, I need you to listen to what just happened. They parked the car. I mean, my family's been trained as to how to listen when Dad calls with some real neat news for our family. They parked the car. Everyone was on speaker. I told them the miracle that happened for our family, that a client sent me a payment through Venmo, and that we firmed up a gig, and everyone cheered, and I was excited, and they were excited, and then they went on with their life, and I went on with my day. They're fully invested in my career. It's not to say sitting there going, oh, how are we going to pay the mortgage this month? I mean, I'm not doing that stuff. I'm saying there are solutions, and you are part of it because you're part of my family.
I love that. And I love the whole family pulling over to celebrate a win. And I think that's a promise that we all can make, is to celebrate the small victories that we're having in our business or that we're having at home. And it might just be doing better on a stay-at-home test or a school assignment. Right now, my kids are on spring break, and we created for my 15-year-old son. I love that you have yours engaged in work. I was a little more, I wanted him to earn his own money. So we dusted off the old aerator, and we put on Facebook and on the Nextdoor to Crestwood app, Corona-free air rating. We'll do your bid off of Google Earth, and we'll come out there and aerate your lawn, and you can pay us with Venmo, and nobody has to touch each other. And so they've been busy out there aerating and taking care of things and trying to earn some money while he's on spring break. So when he comes back, he'll appreciate school a little bit more. So I just decided to work him really hard.
And you know what? A lot of us as parents, because if you're a new work from home parent, you're used to most of the time when you are home, if you are fully present as a parent, you feel kind of like as a parent, your job is to entertain.
Right.
Like all the time. Like, what do we do to keep them entertained at all times? And what I've been teaching of recent is the importance of helping your child understand their independence, that they don't need to ask you for everything, that they're okay to not have every app, that it's okay to play Minecraft for now, but then also to have quiet time to allow for the universe and whatever we might call it, that would give us something of greatness just by listening to our soul. And so by giving them that creative time, and in fact, we've set up locations throughout our house that we say, this is a place for watching a movie, and this is a place for doing your homework, and this is a place for creativity, and this is where we have family dinner, we're not laying everything out on the table to just have it be out at all times. If we need it for that moment, for that project, we do it. But this is where we have dinner.
Love
and
that.
This is this spot, right?
So Jason, my Facebook is frozen, so I'm not seeing any of the comments or the promises that come in. So I'm going to ask Austin to show me on his if he sees some of the promises that are coming in, so I can share them with you.
That's okay. But I think our listeners are hopefully getting some ideas as to how they could make sure that their children are engaged, and equally, as we started with the Family Feud stuff, I mean, just having those locations set up, and if you don't have tons of room in your house, that's understandable. Just make little zones and say, okay, you're here for now, you're here for now. And then you create a game out of it. My friend Chuck Coonrot wrote The Game of Work. And so it's a matter of just saying, okay, you're going to spend 30 minutes here and 30 minutes here, and whoever wins gets this, or we're going to do that. And so creating those ideas in their minds that they can focus for 30 minutes, or they can do their homework for an hour, and then we go take a real break. I teach that, Verl, in the category 1 of the promise to the work and the job in my course, the importance of breaks. And that's important for your listeners as well, and those that are joining us. You could get into the zone of work forever, but every 60 minutes, and maybe even 90 if you have to, you've got to stand up. You've got to walk outside and take a break, or listen to music, do a dance party with the kids, and then zone back into the work. That's very important.
So Jason, I'm going to ask you to take a minute and really take us through the videos and what people are going to gain. And there's also, I posted in the link, a link so everybody can have access to those videos. I'm going to step out and keep a promise for just 1 second, and I'm going to be right back as you take them through those 30 videos.
Yeah, so there's 24 videos that make it so it's connected between, 6 videos per category. The 6 videos would be in category 1 for the job, and then you'd go through each of those modules. Now, if you don't want to watch the videos, you can just skip on through to different modules. You could go to family or community or self. It's up to you. But I wanted to create just enough videos so that you get an idea as to what you can expect within each module. So the first module is the promise of your work, the promise that you declare and proclaim to your job. And so that's things that we've already talked about, maybe committing your daily promise in your job, your work and location setup. As you can see, I have a pretty nice backdrop, and it's not too confusing. The light's good, the sound is good. How is yours coming along? And if you have a situation at home where there's not much room, how do you make it so that you can still make it work with your family around? I talk about breaks, talk about encouraging your coworkers, because now we're not in the cubicles next to each other, high-fiving and elbowing each other. How can we still communicate? I like to actually, on my phone, I like to send people messages and say, you are so awesome, or great job. I might make them a quick little video, or even shout out on Facebook. I'm so grateful for my coworker who has helped me so much, getting back to me on time, being present. It helps. And that's the way that people get applause that maybe they haven't gotten within the isolation of working from home. And then I like to talk about serving first with your gifts, and how you can customize your connection with your peers, your clients, and in all that you do. And so in the sense that Verl is not with us right now because he's keeping a promise to do what else he has to do, I want to show you how I serve first with my gifts. You see, I have some gifts, and I can do things with my face and my voice. I can do things with my voice that are funny, like the Chipmunks. Christmas, Christmas time is near, time for toys and time for tea. And so if I combine my gifts that really, maybe you don't want my gifts, but I have gifts that make me unique. And you have talents I don't have, and I have talents you don't want. So what I do when I'm sharing these things that make me unique, when I'm sharing those things, I'm utilizing my gifts in the workspace to make my work even better and me more valuable. So for example, if I call a client on the phone, I might say to them, I might sing to them if they answer. And I love calling up this one gal. Her name is Bobby Lee. So every time she answers, she goes, hello. And I go, cheer up, Bobby Lee. Wow, wow, wow. What can it mean to a daydream believer? And she laughs her head off. And then, of course, we have an even more fun phone call. So I'm just utilizing my own gifts and serving with my gifts in order to customize the experience with every single client. They go nuts when they hear from me, or if I'm sending a message on Facebook or something, I'll do some of my funny faces and make them laugh, or I'll say, hey, get your kids, let's get them on here so I can show them my nose wiggle thing, because what I've been saying lately is when I go outside for my daily walk, I wear my mask and people are like, I think he has it. And I just slowly lower it and I'm like, you don't want what I got. So, however you can still infuse joy into your life and in the work experience. There are pieces in the videos that will show you exactly how you can do that. So welcome back, Verl.
Yeah, thank you. Emergency avoided. And I appreciate, I had a promise I had made to somebody in my family that had to be kept. And so I had to go and take care of that really quick. Jason, I'll know that I've really made it into your true inner circle when I am greeted with a song. We need a Verl song, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to be great.
Hey, Verl, don't make it bad.
There you go.
We need to find a good upbeat one, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get there. Well, you can't tell by the way he uses walk, his woman's man.
That would work. All I can tell you is I can't use that gift because I can't sing. I tried to sing once and somebody asked me to please stop. So I stopped.
But you know what? What I love about you, Verl, is that your power of seeing things in a way that I could never imagine them. Like to me, that is your incredible signature move. And I talk about how we need to discover our signature moves. You see the world in a way that people cannot. We're all going this one direction, and Verl sees us from this direction, and then he takes it and he turns it into this thing that, like, you go, oh my gosh, I never would have envisioned that in my life. And combine that with your energy, your positivity, your optimism, your never say die attitude. I mean, you have some incredible talents. And so that's what's neat about it. I can sing and I can dance, and that makes you laugh. But when you share with me what you see that I could be doing, that makes me so excited. And so that's where this customization of serving and sharing our gifts, that makes up for a great tapestry of life,
Absolutely. I know you'll laugh with this, but I made a promise to go with my wife and my daughters to Las Vegas this fall to go see Harry Styles in concert. And so I've been working really hard at listening to Harry Styles, which is not in my genre of 80s rock that I love. And so I've been listening to Harry Styles, and I got in the car last night with my 13-year-old, and I was singing along to some of the words, and she changed the channel. She's like, Dad, you can't do that. If you do that at the concert, I'm not going to sit by you. I'm like, oh, I'm going to dance. We're going to sing. I'm getting into it with you. If I'm going all in. You got a concert with Big V. And she just laughed with that. So here's a few great comments, Jason, I want to share with you. Linda says, oh, OMG, I just spit water out of my mouth. Thanks for sharing your gifts. April promises to be more present with her family. And I know she means that. I know that as working from home is a challenge. When you have kids at home, they need you and they want you. And it's easy to say I'm always working. So you got to have those timeouts where you take a time out from work and just get into it. Just get into the family. I love that. She also says she loves having the ideas of locations around the house where we have quiet places that we can actually do our work. Another gentleman says that kids remember everything. So no matter what you tell them, if you're going to make a promise, you better keep it because they're going to remember. Vinda says, I've seen a version of Verl I haven't seen before. Well, I hope, Vinda, that you don't see it too much. And I'm going to do my best to keep on my game face when we're at work. So a lot of great comments. Shiloh says she tagged you at Signature Moves. So everybody has a signature move, and she remembers that from the conference. So fun engagement, and I love the humor that you bring to it. What's been hard for you in working with in working in this environment. You know, people talk about what they're doing and how they're trying to inspire everyone, but I want to know what are the hard things, because I think that a lot of people are struggling and they're dealing with hard things. And it's not whether or not we have hard things, but it's how we deal with them that make us exceptional, that give us the ability to keep those promises. What are some things that have been hard?
That's a great question. I didn't know you're throwing that at me, and I like that. I think that when you are a leader and or considered one, that a majority of the time everyone only sees the Instagram or Facebook shot. That's it. They don't see the struggle. We don't share it. We don't share the vulnerability, the confusion or the worry. We want to be perceived as a leader who just has it figured out. And I know for me as a guy who is now, like I've vulnerably shared on Facebook, as you've seen, Verl, and in my blogs, I am very candid about this journey that I'm going through. Not in a sense of like, please send me money to Venmo, although I'll accept it if you do.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm sharing vulnerably that this is crazy. Like I've never seen anything like it, of course, but also how do I motivate people when I'm not even sure I'm motivated? That's a tricky one. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be so not just busy, but to add so much value, because my job over the last month has been rendered essential in no way. I have lost every gig. I have clients asking for money back. I have clients fighting over gigs for later in the fall. I have all kinds of problems where they don't even want me virtually. And that's been a real internal strife struggle. So where I used to walk, maybe in January, I'd walk 2 or 3 miles a day. I think I'm averaging anywhere from 6 to 7 a day now. And I go out and I walk in the day and in the morning and the night. One night, in fact, Verl, I think you saw I posted about this. I was walking and I was talking into my earbuds. And I find that that's a very therapeutic thing as I record a voice memo on my phone. So I can listen back in case I came up with a good idea or I therapeutically talked myself into a good space. I was walking and I just wandered off into no man's land, a place I've never wandered in my community. In fact, to the end of it, where Salt Lake Valley ends with homes. And I found myself in a spot where there was some construction, but I could hear a dog barking. And as I was ripping myself into this place of saying, I am not essential. I have nothing to offer. I can't even figure out how to make money. I don't know what's wrong with me. It was essentially a prayer to a God that I know is up there. And I'm just wondering when he's going to help me to realize that I do have something to offer. I swear to you, this happened to me, Verl. I heard a dog barking and I looked around as I'm talking to myself. And I realized as I walked over to a foundation of a home that was just poured, a cement foundation, very deep, probably 8 feet, 10 feet deep. I looked down and there's a dog barking right as the sun was setting in the middle of nowhere. This dog had come from who knows where. There was no mother-in-law entrance. He must have jumped into the window well and climbed down there. And he was barking his head off. And I went down. I said, what are you doing? Why are you in there? And he was like, arr, arr, arr. And I go, what are you doing? So I said, well, let me see if I can help you. I climbed into the window well. I grabbed the dog. I came back out of the window well, fat guy in a little window well, doing my cross fat. And the dog went from like barking nervously to licking me, rubbing against my leg, just like so grateful, whining, going, and I said, go home. And he ran off. It was in that moment, Verl, that in my despair for being nobody, that's how I felt. I was nobody to everybody. I was somebody to that dog. I was all of a sudden helpful when I felt helpless. And God sent me to that dog. I believe it. I believe I was supposed to walk down one street and another and end up nowhere. to find that dog because God knew I would jump in a window well and help the dog out. And it wasn't like this epiphany the moment that happened. I just started walking and I was like, wow, that was interesting. And I kept talking about my helplessness. But as I sat down and thought about it, I went, oh my gosh, I guess I still have a purpose. I guess I am still somebody who serves. I am somebody who will jump in a window well for a dog. And even if the dog doesn't know me or it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it mattered to the dog and it mattered to me. And that's been my internal kind of strife that I've shared in order to say to everyone who's probably feeling something similar in their own way, you are still essential. You are still helpful. You can still serve. And that's when I said, I'm going to create a course as fast as I can to help parents that are maybe thinking they don't have much to offer.
I have so many thoughts come through my mind, but I want to tell you that Connie Podesta says hello and she loves you. And she's one of the great motivators of our time and a good friend. She says, the whole time I've known you, Jason, you've been in no man's land. And I love that. Brian says hello. I'll tell you that the mind shift on, it's interesting that people look at you as a motivational speaker and someone who's making a difference and changing, that you're human like everybody else. And you have moments where you feel like you may not have value. And last year at NSA, and I don't know if you saw this, but I think it was at the CSP Summit, they did a spoof on the starfish story and how everybody tells the starfish story different. You just would have won that with your dog and the whole story. That is your starfish, my friend. You have your own starfish story now that you can tell. And it didn't make it matter to all the other dogs, but it did to that one. It mattered to that one right there.
That was very funny. I did not think of that. That's so funny. I should have thrown the dog in an ocean.
Right. It mattered to that one. I didn't mean to make light of your of the spiritual experience.
Funny. That is so funny. That is exactly right.
I've loved our conversation today. And, I think everybody feels insignificant or they feel like they have no value in moments in their life. And it's not whether or not you have those feelings, but it's the process you go through to change the way you feel. I like that you get up every morning and you say, I want to work out. I get up every day and just want to get up. I just want to get up. I find myself getting up today and charging the day. Instead of showing up at 9 o'clock, I want to be in my office at 7 o'clock. I want to get there earlier. And I find myself more energized because I believe that we have a very significant responsibility today to help people see their lives differently and to help them make better choices. And when you make better choices, you make better promises. And when you make better promises and you become a keeper of those promises, it changes your life and it changes your value in the eyes of your family and in the eyes of your boss and in the eyes of your community. I love your message. I love everything about it. And it resonates with me. I need to do a better job making promises and keeping the promises I make. I think that we have a tendency to make promises to the people that we love the most, and they give us the most latitude when we don't keep them.
Yeah. And the promise to the job, if you don't keep it, you lose your job.
That's right.
Promise to your family, you don't keep that promise, they might leave you. The promise to your community, you might be hated where you live or online. What's your promise online? I know every day I'm going to post something probably vulnerable or thoughtful, as well as entertaining and insightful. I'm bringing a whole lot of me to it. There's nothing I'm really holding back. That's my promise to my online community. But then what about the promises to me, myself? And the question I have for those that are still watching, which we appreciate you being here today, is the promise to the one, and the one is you. What are you doing to consume goodness into your life? And I'm talking not just about waking up and checking your phone first thing and then zipping off to, the next thing. How are you coming to a centered place where you go, I am going to live on purpose today. I'm going to do what I know I should do. I'm going to share the gifts that only I have with anybody that I come across. And I'm going to not just consume the negative news. I might check it, but I'm going to consume scripture and the good books. I'm going to listen to Audible and a powerful podcast. I'm going to dance to the music when I hear it. And I'm going to just be happier. In fact, this morning as I was getting ready for this today, Verl, as I was shaving and manicuring, I was listening to, songs that, because I'm happy, clap along if you feel the happiness is in you. These are choices that we have to make. And I'm listening to that, or talks that inspire me. People like Connie Podesta, and I go and listen to her talk on her videos, and I'm like, man, I'm inspired. She makes me laugh. She keeps her promise. Verl, you keep your promise. I know our listeners, those that are watching, keep a promise. And if you're saying to yourself, I keep it to work, to family, to community, what about me? Proclaim your promises. Proclaim what those will be. And that's what we can do today.
That's right. Proclaim them. Write them in the Facebook chat. Give a thumbs up to Jason if you love his musical talent and you love the inspiration and the ideas that he shared with you today. I certainly appreciate it. Holly said this, Jason, and I think that sums it up for me. She says, thanks for the biggest mind shift when you can be helpful when you're feeling helpless. And boy, if all we did today is touch Christina and we get her to feel like she can be helpful when she's feeling helpless, then I call this a win. So thank you so much from all of us at Workman Success Systems, from my family to your family. I just want to say thank you for being here and keeping the promise you made to be part of our Facebook Live and to be part of my life, and continued success. Everybody look in the chat box. I posted a link to Jason's work from home course, and all you have to do is click on it. It'll take you right there. I encourage you to do that and just live a life on purpose. I know you can do that. Jason, final thoughts, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Verl, you add so much value, and I'm so grateful that you would include me in your life. And each person that is watching has extraordinary value and gifts. Now, like I said, you have talents I don't have, and I have talents you don't want. But the point is to share them. That is your promise to the world. Share your gifts, even as you work from home, and you will come out of this more valuable, happier, more successful, and living more purposefully as you make and keep those promises.
I love that, and I'll wrap it with that. Make and keep them. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all soon on our next Facebook Live.